It's to 5. Now, are you using cash more when buying things in the shops? Oh, crikey, that till's loud. Apparently, the use of coins and notes has risen for the second year in a row and was used for a fifth of all transactions in 2023. It comes after years of it becoming less common. Joining me now is Amy Knight, who's a personal finance expert from NerdWallet UK. Hi, Amy.
Hello, Tony. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. This seems to be a bit of a U-turn.
Yeah, it's a reversal of this trend that we've seen for the last few decades of moving away from cash more towards card payments. And debit and credit card payments have still made up about 3/4 of all the transactions in this 2023 study that the British Retail Consortium did. But cash transactions have increased by about 5% in that 2-year period. And it looks like the cost of living pressures that we've all been through is what's behind it.
Right, so all this talk of a cashless society, is it a bit premature then?
Possibly. It very much depends what's going to happen in the economy, because if people are still finding it really difficult to make it to the end of the month because interest rates are so high and inflation's so high, they may prefer to stick with cash where they feel in control of their money and they can see what they've got left.
Is that why people just want to see, in these still straitened times, they find it easier to budget if they can physically see what they're spending?
Yes, this old school strategy called cash stuffing. I don't know if you've come across it.
No, what's that?
So cash stuffing is literally stuffing cash into envelopes, and it's been making a comeback. It's quite a traditional method of budgeting from many, many years ago, but it's had this bit of a resurgence on social media where younger people have found that if they withdraw the cash that they've got available to spend for that month and they stick it in an envelope that says food or bills or clothes or whatever it might be, they know then that they can only spend that amount and they're not going to get themselves into debt. And because the cost of living crisis unfortunately pushed so many households into financial difficulty, it's cast this bit of a shadow where people are very frightened of getting into debt.
And is this being driven by people of particular age groups then?
Well, older people have tended to be more reluctant to embrace digital payments and technology, and unfortunately older generations tend to be a little bit more vulnerable to scams and fraud, so it's very understandable that they would be wary of using digital payments. They might feel a lot safer with cash, but it's across all age groups where the budgeting issue has really been heightened by the cost of living that we've had to go through the last few years.
Why did the use of cash decline in the first place, do you think?
I think people really enjoyed how convenient it was to be able to pay, not just with a plastic card in their wallet, but as it moved on to smartphones and smart watches. A lot of people found that very handy not to have to carry a wallet with them. But unfortunately, there are certain things that still rely on cash. Parking meters, some places you just cannot pay by card. So most people like to carry a little bit of cash for backup.
There seem to be a lot of places that have gone card only nowadays. Is that worrying if the use of cash has risen? And really, should they be allowed to do that?
Well, at the moment, they can be card only, although there's definitely been some pushback from certain groups. For instance, charities that campaign on behalf of older people or people with disabilities are really keen to see that cash is an acceptable form of payment because it can be more inclusive. It can be easier for some vulnerable people to use cash if they're not able to use card or digital banking. But I think using cash only, if you swung it the other way, that puts pressure on high streets where the bank branches have been closing, and in so many parts of the UK, access to banking in a traditional branch and being able to withdraw cash and pay in cash is something that we don't have enough of anymore.
Yeah. And also, I've just seen issues cited for anybody who needs to, say, to escape, say, abusive relationship or a situation like that. Having cash is much better for them, because if somebody's trying to control their money, it's less of a digital footprint for them to use, and they can actually use the cash. Just hadn't thought of. It's very useful in that respect.
Really frightening.
Yeah. Amy, great to speak to you. Thank you very much. That was personal finance expert Amy Knight from NerdWallet UK. Is it something that you're using more of? You find yourself doing that? Using more cash than card or your phone?